No,
We're in.
we're in.
You're a good moderator. You're a fucked up producer.
You starting off bad.
I
Hey,
know.
hey,
We're
we need to get
live
some
now.
production people in here, man. So I need to look a little bit sexier, you know. I got a lapel mic and shit. That's why I want to know how my audio is. You niggas got hair. I got to get some you know,
Oh Lord,
hair for a little while more.
this is gonna be good today.
I
That's
see.
all.
Right. We
You having a
live,
bad
right?
hair day, Lamar? I know y'all got caps on for something because you think you're cute. I'm here to tell you, Negroes,
Yeah,
Kunta and
I'm gonna get
Toby,
mine
and
done tomorrow.
I'm gonna go easy on you, Reggie, because you halfway decent. You know what I mean? You good Christian man. You good Christian young man. Pastor, I don't know about pastors. Pastors,
There it is.
Just keep praying for me, Free. All I need is you to pray for me, Doc. That's all I need.
cookies. All you thinking about cookies.
Don't worry about it. It works well.
Hey,
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good to have you all back. This is part 3 of our book talk series, "The Way of the Superior Man" by David Dita. A very interesting book. It's got all of us, that are on the call these last couple of weeks, talking offline, sending messages throughout the week. It's just some really inspiring things, and certainly not everything in the book is truth, or do we say is something that we stand behind, but it's just great commentary for us to really kind of do some deep dives into just our own personal lives, our identities, our purpose, our egos, and but also when it comes to relationships, the relationships that we're in, the relationships that we've been a part of, and Fred will say he ain't gonna talk about any past relationships, but I do know that all of our relationships that we've been a part of has helped us to become the men that we are today. Our relationships with our mother, um, other women in our lives. So certainly, this book is a testament to all of those experiences that we've had. Before we kind of jump into part 3, in part 3 tonight, those who are joining us for the first time, is understanding women. First part was identity, self, ego, understanding purpose. Part 2 last week was dealing with women, understanding, recognizing they're different species than we are as men, and uh, and so this week we're doing understanding women. But before we jump into that, I did receive a few emails from some great listeners who wanted to know, and fellas, I'm gonna post it on the page really quick. They wanted to know,
Hey Jay, excuse me, Doc. Are you up live yet on Facebook? Because I can't pull it.
yeah, I think we're live on Facebook. Mm,
If not, we can roll. I'll catch up with it.
okay,
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll. I catch it in a second.
okay. I think Corey is. He just sent me a private message. Wait till y'all see this Negro's name for this week. He changed his name. Is that the Love Doctor?
That is the love doctor.
The Doctor of
Oh
Love.
Lord. Oh my God. Here we
Hey,
The
go.
Doctor
Here we
of
go.
Love.
Lamar.
Yo, what's up, bro?
You'll be excited to know that I changed out Red Fox, and you see who's behind me there? The love doctor himself.
If you don't know, if you don't love yourself, who will?
Come on, you better talk to me, bro.
Woo!
You'll be excited to know that I changed out Red Fox, and you see who's behind me there?
How we hear that feedback?
Yeah, somebody's up. Somebody got their thing up live. That's all. So we're getting to
Oh
somebody need to mute something on the other side.
yeah. Unless two of Corey, do you have two devices on? Phone and laptop?
No.
Okay, I don't hear it now. Okay.
Good enough.
Yeah, I think we're good. I'm still waiting for my computer to log in, and then I'll get into that. But look, hey, before we get started, fellas, to part 3, understanding women tonight. I got an email from actually a few folks this week who were wondering what are some good date ideas from a man's point of view. The emails that I received was saying that, they were the ones always in charge of coming up with date ideas, that their significant others weren't really the ones who uh, took initiative with ideas on dating. So they wanted to hear from all of us. Let's spend like the first 3 or 4 minutes before we get into the episode. Talk about some good date ideas.
Ain't nobody saying.
Date ideas?
Damn. We fall into that stereotype she was talking about.
Nah, I can kick it off.
Okay.
Yo,
No,
I thought we was gonna wait till we went live. I'm good.
I'll talk.
Oh, we live, bro.
Yeah, we live.
Yeah,
Date
we live.
ideas are not always. We have to realize who we're dealing with. We're dealing with creatures of emotion, and they don't always necessarily have to have a lot of fanfare and pomp and circumstance. Often it's the thought that counts. It always is the thought that counts. As somebody who recently got rid of / kids matriculated away from the house, and you know, I'm suffering that dreaded empty nest syndrome, y'all. Walking around naked, just to the frigid anytime you want to, getting fresh air places well, you know. But anyway, I'm in charge of our social calendar at my household. You know, I made it a point not to ever claim the empty nest syndrome. If you can't find something to do after your kids leave home, loser. So anything, man, is a date. Going out for a walk, going out for a stroll in the afternoon in your neighborhood is a date. Easy dinner, Panera, man, and a matinee. You know, from a sandwich and salad, just with your lady, man. Just time spent is a date. A hike is a date. A museum, walking around looking at artwork is a date. Taking a cooking class with your wife is a date. Ballroom dancing is opportunities, man. Anything that you do and that you can do hand in hand with the person that you love is a date. And it doesn't take extravagance all the time. It just takes thought and spending some real face quality time with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of dates, lots of opportunities to entertain yourself as a couple.
That's good stuff, Fred. That's good stuff. Yeah, I would say that I'm the same. My wife actually commends me on how much initiative I take with staying consistent with our date nights. It's something that I don't leave to memory, so I'm very big on having planning everything out for my calendar for my business. So I treat, you know, my marriage the same way. So I make sure at least once a month we're doing something together, and that I'm doing that planning because she loves to plan. But me taking that initiative, I feel like makes a big difference. I've heard that having things that you do consistently for your date nights, say if you both love to, you know, watch movies, if you keep that consistent, that gives you continuity, but you also want to spice it up, but not doing too much of either. So one of our best date nights I remember was just doing something that we both had never experienced by going to an opera show. So it's something that was so different for the both of us. I got a lot of points that night. So yeah, just, you know, switching it up, but also having the key things that you guys enjoy together. But for the fellas out there that are listening, I would say definitely take the initiative. Because like even the book talks about when you allow your woman to not have to plan and take initiative on things, that puts her in her feminine energy. And when she's in her feminine energy, that's great for you. Let's just put it like that. She don't want to put it on you at the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? You let her be a woman, and you took the reign and was a man about it.
That's good. It's often challenging to come up with different ideas, especially if you've done everything. Everything that like over the years, what some of the things that we would do outside of the kids is that, you know, often going out eating and things of that nature, movies and all those type of things. But once you've done everything, and right now, and I'm a brand new, almost, I'm real close to empty nest. I'm like about this close. I'm real close, and it becomes a challenge when you've done so many things and areas where I would struggle in oftentimes. One is time, one is balance, because I'm always busy, I'm always doing something. But then the other side, and that's no excuse for anybody not to do date nights or anything like that at all. You're supposed to make time and make those things happen. But that's one area that I often struggle in is my balance and being able to handle things properly, you know, on the home front. But then the other challenge would be I always want to do things that she's going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. I always want to do something that she's going to enjoy, and often it doesn't really work out like that, because she can never make up her mind. So that's often the challenge that I have, is because she will always put the weight back on me versus, you know, stuff like that. So.
But you know, Lamar, that's in the book though, man, too. You know, we were reading about how women, and I think the word indecisive is such a negative word, so I don't want to use that, but how women will vacillate between thoughts and ideas. One minute they may want to do something, and the next minute they want to do something different, right? And so having the space and patience for us to let them change their minds multiple times is something that I had to learn. You know, because changing your mind back and forth all the time can be very, very, man, that's tiring on our end. But something Reggie said, the feminine energy, and then Lamar alluded to as well. I think about what it is that she would want to do, and then I also try to be spontaneous, because most women are planners, and so if they're the ones planning something, then usually, if you can do something spontaneous, you catch them by surprise. I do not want to be that dude who, and I've heard relationships talk about how he's so routine, and I know as soon as he's gonna walk in the house, the first thing he's gonna do, and I know when he takes me out to dinner exactly where he's gonna take me. When I would hear those stories over the years, I vowed not to be that dude. I was like, whatever I have to do, not to be that dude that's predictable, and you know exactly what move he's about to make, and so that has made me be more creative. Whether it's like, hey, we catching a flight tomorrow to Boston for dinner, let's do it. Or the weekend we're going to spend in Florida, Miami Beach, you know, and your bags are already packed, right? So for me, date night has always been something so spontaneous. They didn't see it coming.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, gentlemen, man, and I'm just sitting here listening. I think that the question is, what are good date ideas? And because I can be quite analytical at times, I would always ask the question, at what stage are you guys dating? Are you just now starting to date? Have you been together for years? Are you like Lamar, you've done everything? Are you like Fred, you're now adventuring into tape and dog whistles? So it really just depends on what stage of life you're in. But if you're in the beginning stages, I like to go on dates where I can kind of begin to identify that person's character. So I do kind of different things. And I may say, we'll go to a homeless shelter, something like that, and feed somebody, and just kind of see if she's with that type of action. Now, we may do something different afterwards, but I like to do kind of off the beaten path type stuff. Yes, we can catch flights. Yes, we can go to these 5-star restaurants. Or, will you go and walk down the street with me and eat off a food truck on the West Coast? Or if we go to Mexico, are you cool with $2 tacos? I'm like Lamar. I like to travel. I mean, I think Jason said that I like to travel. So I'm very spontaneous as well. So you got to kind of keep the energy going and keep them guessing. Because like you said, you don't want to be that person that they know every Friday night, this is what you want to do. Every Tuesday night, this is what you want to do. But I think also that depends on personality. And so, I like sometimes, like, for example, just last night, me and my fiance went to work out at 1:00. We worked out in a private gym. Nobody was there. And so we worked out, and you get to know a little bit about that person, their work ethic. Do they quit when they're tired? Are they going to support you? So it's just a lot of things that you can do to kind of begin to identify a person's characteristic. And I think you do that thing and doing it different, different things,
That's right.
We was real cute with that date night stuff.
I tried to be, because I had to be cute because it's about to get lit tonight. It's about to get real lit, so I'm trying to be real nice in the beginning.
Trying to ease them in.
Gotta ease them in.
Well, it's go time then. Let's make it happen.
I want to come back to something you said, Lamar, before we go into the book. You made a point when you said, it's hard to be more creative when you've done everything, right? Mm-hmm. So talk about that a little bit, because I think there's some fellas out here who have been married, 20, 30 years, or some brothers who are about to get married. I mean, Corey will be married here in a few months. Talk about that for a minute. What do you do when you've exhausted a lot of the date ideas.
I mean, often most dates are built around, the basic things that happens. I love how Reggie said they did something totally different and went, did some classical opera pieces and all of that. That's great. But a person like myself that's not even into any of it, I'll try my best to make sure that it's something that both of us are going to enjoy. But the thing is, over time, you've pretty much you're tired of Ruth Chris. You're tired of some of these other restaurants. You're tired of you just going out doing the same thing over and over again. And then you have to be, as we talked about the creativity, then you got to reach way back into your bag and be like, okay, let's what can we do? Is we gonna go out here and sit on the curb together? Can you go to McDonald's with me and we're gonna sit here and grab some fries and just sit in the parking lot and just talk? I mean, can we do things of that nature? But then you got to make sure that whoever that you're connected to, your partner, is going to be able to enjoy and even respect the fact that, yes, we can go down here to, the finest restaurants in the entire city, 5-star, 6-star, all of that. We can go down here and do all of these things. We can travel. We can go to whatever island you want to go to. We can do all of those things. But can we just sit there at McDonald's with some fries? And oftentimes that's the challenge when you have actually done a whole lot of things that is often seen to be and depicted, especially in society, to be some of the things you're supposed to do as far as being exciting as an exciting date night.
As long as I can get some 2 warm apple pies to go, I'm cool.
Lamar, I think that's a great point. And when you were talking, it made me think about how, I think back over the years, it's just the years of dating, like the places that we've gone and visited and all that kind of stuff. I felt like I was defined by the things that I did or the places that I took or how creative I was, right?
Oh yeah, it's often a judgment.
Yeah,
it's often a judgment. It's often a judgment and a competition what the last person did.
Yeah.
Can you top what they did? Do you love me enough to top what they did?
Yeah. And to sit at McDonald's and have fries and just talk, I think seems a little outlandish because most people, at least in today's time, are so glued to their phones. I don't know about y'all, but when I go to restaurants, man, and I see other couples there and they're both on the phones at the same time, that's very confusing to me because I didn't grow up in that era, right? My father, always taught me when you're out, with a young lady, put your phone away. Give her your undivided attention. And so I see the attention is so divided when people go on dates today. I wonder, how are you friends beyond the experience?
I mean, but that comes to a point that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, is dealing in that area of communication. Can we effectively communicate with one another? Because the moment that we can really communicate with one another, then we can get back to the roots of how we even got started in the relationship anyway. It wasn't about the fine places, because I know at one point I couldn't afford it.
That's right.
Well, not to entirely get off of the subject, but what Lamar just said spoke volumes. He talked about the ability to communicate. And I think that society on a whole is losing the ability, the skill of interpersonal communication. I remember having to admonish my kids for having friends over and then looking around and there's 4 girls on the couch, each one with a computer, and nobody's talking to each other unless they're emailing each other. Everybody's got they might as well be in a cubicle because they all brought their computers. This is back when my daughter was 14, 15 or whatever. But we are losing the capacity to communicate effectively because interpersonal skills are not valued anymore. We've gotten to the point now, rather than call people because we don't want to really talk to them, we text them and use other nonverbal forms of communication. As hard as it is to communicate with women now, imagine how hard it might be for young men, middle-aged men, old men to communicate with their spouses in another 50 years if society continues along this same path, with children not spending FaceTime, people not knowing how to write cursive or to punctuate a sentence because they write in sentence fragments and acronyms and stuff all the time. Imagine if you spend that little time. Another thing is people walk around wearing masks and not, however long this lasts, not being able to judge expression and to perceive the perception of what you said, how it might be perceived. Because I know I have quite a wit, you guys know that. So I have said a whole lot of shit in my life and not once got knocked out because I'm able to read people. Why are you looking at me, Corey, like you would have knocked me out a long time ago?
Hey, because Fred, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, listen, man. First of all, when the last time you wrote a cursive damn sentence? All right, let's think about it. All right, so all right, so you gotta understand. Listen. First of all, you gotta understand that the times are changing, and so I get it. I get it. But some of those things that were valuable to us and to our parents, they won't be valuable to the next generation. Don't when's the last time you wrote a paragraph?
Just the other day, when I read books. You hear me?
You know what? And I'm giving you a hard time because the truth is, even though I'm 43, when I write, I still prefer to write it before typing it. So I get it. But Fred, let me. Can I go back to something? Because Jason, you guys been a little too somber and nice for me tonight. And maybe it's because I'm already halfway through with this. But listen, talking about dating, let's go back to that bull crap that Jason just said, right? Because here's the deal. You want to compete with the last person, even if you don't say it. Come on, Reggie, keep it a buck. Even if you don't say it, it is an unspoken competition. You want to outdo the last cat that she was with. Yeah. Tell me I'm not telling the truth.
Right. Look, I don't care about nobody else, but you want to be cool. You want to make an impression. Of course you do. You want to come on, man. Even going back to the days when I was, not married, everybody had their little mixtape, right? I wanted songs on my tape that made chicks say, "Who's that?" Not just like, "Ooh, that's my song," but I wanted people to say, "What is that, man? That's
right on."
Got me, you know what I'm saying? So of course, and to me, it's not about the other cat. It's about me and what you think of me. But let's not leave the subject of what you said earlier, Corey. You talked about doing unique things with your dates, and then tagging along with what Lamar said about running out of things to do. But doing those unique things, those are great opportunities, like you said, to learn character, but to know what people are about. And in so doing, when you're taking people out on dates, I can't help but go back and think of the admonition that we've made, most of us have made during the course of this book discussion, about not ignoring red flags. As hard as it is to understand women, as hard as it is for us to communicate, knowing that we perceive things in a different way and we also communicate entirely differently, we have to, I almost lost my train of thought. I actually might have. It helps. I'm sorry. It helps. 2.8. It helps. It helps if you have chosen someone who's on the same page as you. So when that person is speaking, you do have a general idea of what the subject is, because you have some things that are valuable in common, is what I'm trying to say. So those opportunities to take people out on unusual dates and see how they respond. If you say, "Well, we're not going to check out butts tonight, but we're going to go to a homeless shelter tomorrow, and then we'll feed some guys breakfast and then go have brunch, or we'll take a cooking class together and we'll see how you deal with new ideas and new things or whatever." But all this stuff that we're saying tonight and the previous nights and the nights to come, I think we cannot forget that a lot of the difficulties that we experience along the way are mitigated by taking the time to learn who your future spouse is going to be, or who this woman is by your side. Take opportunities to talk to them, not just scream in their ear at a club.
Everybody taking a sip, huh? That's what we doing?
Jason, you on mute. We can't hear you, man.
Yeah.
That's why Corey was talking trash, man. When he knew I was on mute.
Oh.
No, I think that's a valid point, Fred. I just think that date ideas when guys think about dating. Let's also talk about some things that really come into play that guys really think about. First of all, is currency.
Jason,
like if I'm taking you out on a date.
Jason, I have a question. Was this question submitted by a male or a female?
Two women submitted the same question.
You knew that, Reggie.
Hey, so look, what I was saying was when a guy goes out on he's taking somebody out on a date and he's paying for it, right? I think that's another thing that's a factor that we need to really talk about, because I hear a lot of men say, well, I'm paying for the date or paid for multiple. And so what is the outcome? For many men, the outcome is not necessarily good.
You satisfied now, Corey?
I'm listening to what he's saying. He just froze up on me.
You
Yeah,
said
Miss
I just froze up.
you
I was
said
just saying, like, the outcome is good conversation. Of that's
You want conversation or cookies?
I think y'all know my answer.
both.
Jason, he's frozen.
Listen,
man. But y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like, if he's paying for the date, I hear guys say, I don't understand why they can't be intimate with a woman on the first night. And I think that he ties in his money to intimacy. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I think that they go hand in hand in some men's mind, that if I'm paying for this, then this should be my outcome. And so when men are thinking about dates, it's like, well, what restaurant can I take you to, or what trip can I take you on, so that at the end of the night I can get this thing.
that's why I'm glad I'm not a woman, because I couldn't put up with that kind of psychology.
And let me just say this, Fred and Dr. Jason. Let me take up for the good guys that are watching this.
How you gonna?
All of us do not connect our money with the cookie.
Don't put yourself in that category, man.
Hey,
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. Literally, when me and my fiance, we went on our first couple of dates, I intentionally made it be known that that's not the direction I want to go, because it's one thing, just because you get the guts don't mean you know her on the inside. I'll let that resonate, right? Just because, so that can't always be the ultimate goal, because when you get in trials and tribulations, when somebody gets sick, when there's a pandemic or whatever the situation we face in the earth, you got to be able to communicate. You got to, as Fred said earlier, it's more than just that, right? And so I think it's about the age and stage of the person that you're going out on a date with, or how you were introduced to him. Now, if I met you in a strip club, more than likely I'm probably trying to close the deal, right? But if I met you at church, or met you at the mall, or met you in some place that wasn't sexually driven, then ultimately what I want to know is I want to get to know you. And it's not about how much money I spend on the date.
Man, sometimes I've met some very modest women in strip clubs and met some freaks in church, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, man. I don't. It's not like I go to the strip club or anything like that.
I'm just saying you did. I'm just saying, like,
look direct.
It's hard to generalize like environments where you can meet people and what that outcome will be.
I mean, well, I won't necessarily say it's about the environment that you meet people in, because you can meet people in any particular situation, and sometimes it's not even your idea, but often it's their idea. One of the things that I have learned about women since I've been dating is that you can either talk your way into it, or you can talk your way out of it in the first couple of moments that they meet you. So it really doesn't really matter where you meet them at. It just depends on if they are feeling you or not, if you're going to get the end results that you're trying to get. But I will say this, I have never connected my money per se to dating and how much I spend if I'm going to actually get the end result that I'm looking for. That has never been a goal of mine. Maybe I can be the good guy, bad guy, whichever guy. I'm trying to figure out which role Corey gonna play tonight. Then I'm gonna go the opposite of whichever one he gonna do, and we're gonna play this whole thing out. We're gonna work on it. But I don't associate my money with that.
Tonight, Lamar, I am being the good guy because my fiance is in the kitchen cooking. So I am the good guy tonight. Okay.
Okay, I got you.
I'm trying to figure out how Corey changed up all of a sudden. I was trying to figure out what's going on.
Hey, ain't nobody never talked their way into no ass. About the best you can do is not talk your way out of it. Chicks decide always.
That's it. They make up their mind. You can talk your way out of it. Real simple.
Best move is to keep your mouth shut. Hey, and Corey, I want to know if the good guy bit works, because I've ever heard in my life. So let me just straighten some out. that's words from somebody who was willing to wait one more night.
Hey, but hey, let me tell you, hey, Fred, let me tell you something. Yes, it works. Because let me tell you, and I'm about to give away some game for free to some of them jokers out there, the savages and ferocious, and they don't have the patience to wait. All right.
One day.
All you got, see, never mind. Let me just go ahead. Jason,
I
don't want
to talk to the savages, Corey. Talk to them.
Here's the deal, man.
Hey, listen.
There's this old saying that I was told years ago, Reggie. And the old man told me this. He said, there was a bull standing at the top of the hill, and he looked down the hill, and he seen a bunch of cows. And the young bull ran down. He seen the cow that he wanted, and he ran down, and he knocked down one of the cows. He said, but then there was an old bull that walked down, and he got them all. Patience, my friend.
I like that.
Patience.
I'll take that.
Listen, anything that you chase in life will by nature, it will run away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are too aggressive, if you chasing too hard, if you too thirsty, then it's going to run away from you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are almost nonchalant with a little swag and energy and kind of like, listen, ain't about that.
A whole lot here now. A whole lot here.
Okay, my bad.
Rein it back in.
Okay, my bad.
You out the game, man. This goes you out the game. You know, you.
I'm out the game, so I'm giving the game for free. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Give away that Jedi status. Once you get to that level where you just like. So tell me,
Lord have mercy.
You know, you're giving away the force. You know.
That young man watching this podcast, learn to walk. Stop sprinting.
It's a marathon, not a race.
You better believe it.
Yeah. Well, look, let's jump into the book. Reggie, I love this quote, man, that you sent me earlier, and I wanted you to kind of go ahead and start with this. This is chapter 3 or part 3 of the book, Understanding Women, and talk to us, tonight, Reggie, about this quote, man. Bring us into your world for a second.
All right, awesome. So I'm gonna read it because we have it partially on the screen. So it says, "Just remember that self-discipline is not self-suppression. Suppression is when you resist and fight against your desires, keeping them as buried and unexpressed as possible. Self-discipline is when your highest desires rule your lesser desires, not through resistance, but through loving action grounded in understanding and compassion." So in that previous paragraph, he was just talking about being able to pretty much withhold the desire to want to have sex and even bust a nut. Right, and that being part of self-discipline. It's just because you have that desire doesn't mean that it has to be expressed, right? And when we discipline ourselves, we're not suppressing ourselves, because we hear it a lot of brothers, right? I want to have sex, I want to get it in, right? Or maybe say you're married or you're in a relationship, you see something that you like, right, and you feel like you're suppressing yourself. But in keep in mind of the idea of what's the highest purpose, the highest desire, like what's more important, the temporary nut that I want to have, or the marriage that I'm in, or the relationship that I see value in. And it's no different than any other avenue of life. If I'm working on, say, losing weight, my lesser desire is that burger and fries and cheesecake that I want to have. But my bigger goal is to be in the best shape of my life and be healthy. Right? My lesser desire is that I want to stay up late and watch a bunch of TV, but my bigger desire is that I get my ass up first thing in the morning, work on my business or work on my craft. Right? So, and that you be, the thing I think that is key too with this is that you be thoroughly convinced that your higher purpose is worth it. They say that a person that's convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So if you don't feel like your higher purpose is worth foregoing, whether it be that quick nut or that cheat meal, whatever, you're going to be doing it, but you're going to be mad about it the whole time. So you don't even truly believe in what you're disciplining yourself for. And that's why it feels like you're self-suppressing yourself. So I think this is a powerful piece right here.
That's good, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember reading this quote too, or this chapter, Reggie. And I felt like, definitely with suppression, man, it's only a matter of time before what you suppress comes to light. I mean, just we're humans, man. We're men, so we can suppress it, but for so long, and then, we just bust out, and then we just start acting crazy and erratic. But self-discipline, man, that's another level, man. That's like a lifestyle. When I read this chapter, it was like self-discipline reminded me of a lifestyle. Suppression reminded me of a diet.
That's a good analogy.
You're on a diet.
When you feel suppressed, you feel like you're not able to be yourself. Like you've been taken away a right or a part of yourself. So I think it's a key word. You know what I'm saying? That you don't. Self-discipline is a way more powerful connection to what it is that you're actually working towards and aligning yourself with.
Hey, Reggie, I got a question for you, if I may. Do you think maybe that term suppression, do you think maybe many of us as men, we result to suppression because the true acknowledgement of our nature is frowned upon by society?
I feel like because our true nature is what we desire many women, right? That we want sex more often than women.
Yeah. So part of that chapter that you're coming from, I think I got a quote from that same chapter, and it's almost controversial and unacceptable. It's not a social norm for a man to acknowledge that he may be in a relationship and be 100% satisfied, but still has this nature that is a reality that cannot necessarily be talked to or about with your wife or the opposite sex, because the reality is for years, they have almost said something is wrong with us because of the true nature that we have. And so I guess the question for that quote is, do you feel like maybe we suppress it because it's not accepted? Or is that just?
I think the concept that he's trying, in my opinion, is saying that nature is actually true. That as men, until the grave, you're gonna see every woman on the planet because they're literally artwork. And our inherent desire genetically is to procreate. The more that you procreate, you're literally doing your man's purpose. But self-discipline, what it shows is the control of that innate desire. Just because the desire is there, doesn't mean that you unleash it.
That's right.
I'm healthy. I want to eat junk food every day. But if I allowed myself to act on that, I wouldn't be healthy. So I had to keep that in control. I had to keep that in check from a higher version of myself.
Everybody hit on all the right points, especially going back to your analogy with a diet versus a lifestyle change. People who diet often just diet unsuccessfully, because dieting, by sheer definition, is the withholding something from yourself. That often doesn't work very well unless you replace that something with something good that you also enjoy. So typically, just like Jason said, when people do extreme diets to affect some type of change, even if it's positive, what happens typically is people tend to binge, just like you said. And whether that is food or any substance that you can overdo, or any activity, even whether it's sex or something good, rock climbing, exercise, you can run on a treadmill to excess. Yeah. But you tend to binge when you deny yourself. Now, you talked about that whole word, this suppression. Suppression is something that you do to something that you consider bad. And the book cleared that up for us by talking about the fact that our sexual desire is very natural, very, very beautiful, God-given, and very real. Your attraction to female ain't lust. You're supposed to be attracted to beautiful things, whether it's art, cars, or women. But then somebody touched on the point that what really matters after that is what you have in here, your ability to control yourself and value the relationships you have over immediate gratification, which goes to the bigger point of this. Just remember that self-discipline is not self-suppression. Suppression is when you resist a fight blah, blah, blah. It goes on. But what it basically says is this is a maturity and self-control required to seek not immediate gratification, but delayed gratification, more profound gratification, happiness, joy, peace, and all the things that are available to you when you do the right thing with some forethought and knowledge rather than impulsive things that provide.
Now, the chapter that Reggie took this quote from was it's a message to the man that says you will often want more than one woman.
Didn't Reggie, you use that last time, didn't you, Reggie? You will often want more from a woman and end up getting less.
No. This is you will often want more than one woman. This is a whole new section. Yeah, this section, the quote that Reggie pulled it out of, he really talks about how you ain't gonna get around the fact that you're gonna desire another woman intimately, even if you're in a committed monogamous relationship. You're going to desire, right, another woman, and I don't think we talk enough about the desire piece because the desire piece is not really inextricably understood by our significant others, because when we say desire, the assumption is it love that you have for this person? Are they doing something better than I'm doing? But the reality is we will just have innate desire.
Hey fellas,
Doc,
I got an innate desire for Jason to get off of that Boost mobile internet. That's what I got. That's my desire. So
y'all know where I was going with it. Y'all know where I was going with it.
But Dr. Jason, that's the question I have, and I'm so glad that you brought that up and elaborated a little bit more. Here's my question, and I'm swinging at something here. Do we suppress it? Because even when you were saying that, my man Fred was like, "Nope, I don't. I don't desire no other woman. No. And because it is not socially accepted for a man to articulate, even to his woman, baby, listen, I love you. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to cheat. Because as Reggie said, once you get to a certain age and stage, you learn to discipline yourself. Because I think life is about discipline, especially as a man. It's about learning how to discipline yourself. I oftentimes say, even on this podcast, that the worst thing you can give somebody without discipline is options. And so when you have discipline, then you know how to control that. But the desire never goes away. Reggie looked like he got a six-pack over there, but I'm sure he desires a chocolate cake every now and then. Now, he may walk past and say, listen, I went grocery shopping the other day. Just yesterday, I went grocery shopping. And listen, I love honey buns. But I'm getting married on December 12th, and December 4th, I'm going to be in Mexico with my shirt off. So I'm trying to keep get my six-pack back. So because my end goal is greater than the satisfaction of this momentary satisfaction with this cupcake, I walk past the aisle. I walk past the honey buns. But my question for you gentlemen is, when do we get to the point where we can openly say, well, nigga, I still like honey buns. Yeah, I mean, I still like honey buns. I'm not going to get one. But it is my nature to like honey buns.
You said that tonight, man.
No, you were shaking your head no, though. I was looking at you too.
No, but I don't. I have ascended to a higher plane of male being purpose.
It's if I can just throw a little bit on here without trying to go too crazy, because if we really start tying into a whole conversation dealing with suppressing this particular area, you got to deal with polygamy. Then you have to deal with monogamy, and then since a couple of us here, well, mostly all of us here are Christian men, so therefore we have certain religious beliefs as well, dealing in that whole area. But the thing that I want to deal with is that we are taught in society, and if you go to any psychologist or psychiatrist, they tell you do not suppress anything. Because the moment that you begin to suppress things, you begin to cause different type of things inside of your body. So let's say if you suppress your emotions, it often says that you have issues with weight gain. If you suppress your emotions, you have things that happens inside of your stomach, inside of your gut. And then you also, if you begin to suppress, stress and all that, it has effect on your body. There's just certain things that just have an effect on your body. And is it something that we would really want to suppress that will ultimately cause us some type of physical illness? Because now here you go. Doctors suggest that a man should have he should ejaculate 21 times a month.
That all?
Yeah, that's what they say. They say you have to see. They say for a healthy man, you need to ejaculate 21 times a month. And the reason you ejaculate that many times a month is because it helps keep away prostate cancer.
That's good enough for me.
So now, do we sit back and suppress it? That could ultimately cause us some type of physical harm because we're not doing what the doctor suggested.
I'm writing my wife a prescription right now.
That's a good to know. That's a good one to keep in the high.
I just want to just throw that out there.
I'll work with doctors. I'm calling someone like, look, I need a prescription and I got a bad, I feel like my prostate's swelling up. Can I get put my name?
So since Jason looked like he's frozen again, we don't know.
No, I ain't frozen. No, I ain't frozen.
You all right?
No, I'm here.
Stop there for a minute.
No, I changed devices. I'm good. No, I think Lamar, you make a great point, man. And I thought about that earlier today when I thought about the Western culture, like just our Western culture, just how dominant and superior we act. And then when we travel to the other countries, which make up more people that are in the United States, we look at them as if the way they live life and do life is not the way it should be. Right? And I'm like, how can we be so small, a microcosm to the rest of the world, but we idolize and adopt these Western societal norms as truth? You know, I'm not even getting into the word right now. I'm just talking about just the Western culture, Western society.
Because Jason, if you get into the word, Solomon had 700 wives, but that's a whole other subject. Go ahead.
I was waiting on that one. I knew it was coming.
You knew I was coming, Lamar. You knew I was coming.
It's when Lamar used the word suppression, and I have been to all the other continents except for Africa and Antarctica. Like I haven't been to those, but I've been to the other ones, right? I have not seen suppression that we've discussed tonight exercised the way that we do it in the Western world. And I don't think it's tied to religion because many of those other countries are just as or more than religious as many people in the Western culture. But why is it that the Western culture has idolized so many forms of suppression?
Because it is that's where I was going. We talk about social norms. All right, it is not acceptable. It is not comfortable. There is some woman that is watching this right now that is extremely uncomfortable with this conversation because they are intimidated, not intimidated because I don't want to offend anybody, but they have been programmed to believe that the man that the Lord has for you only has eyes for you. And the reality
I'm
is,
your hoop corner.
Come on. The reality is, man, you can't, as a man, suppress your nature. You can control your decisions. Thank you so much for that, Reggie. You can control your decisions. Yeah. But you can't suppress your nature. Now listen. Now I love my woman, but I'm not. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. But I can't say if I'm at Kroger's on aisle 6 and Lisa Ray walking that I'm not gonna look and be like, Lord Jesus. Now I got a decision to make, and my discipline says that I'm not going to approach that because Reggie said something so profound, and I promise you I'm going to use that in the sermon that I preach. The end goal has to be more important to you than the instant gratification of taking a chick from the 6th aisle in Kroger's to the parking lot and knocking it down in the backseat.
So question, this would be my question. And I'm not, everything that everybody's saying is absolutely correct. You have to have self-discipline. But in a moment of your having self-discipline, is it simply based up on this Western culture?
Yeah, absolutely.
What else can we base it on?
It's exposure. Yeah. It's exposure. It's what we've been exposed to. As Jason talked about traveling to different continents. And, Fred seems like he reads a lot of books. So even if he hasn't been, his mind is there. Like when you're exposed to different things, you realize that what you were taught is not the only way. But it's not the only way.
See, I have to be the bad guy today because Corey don't want to be the bad guy today.
His fiance's there,
Yeah, I know. He got to act good today. So,
Lamar, you can tell she's here because my drink keeps getting refilled.
Thank the Lord. Amen. Because it'd be empty by now. So, yeah. So the thing would be, so we will have self-discipline against our own nature. The way that we were built, as Reggie was saying, the way that we were built to procreate. We were built to replenish and replenish the earth. We were built to do these things. But because of self-discipline and Western society, what we end up doing is we suppress things that ultimately hurt us.
But isn't our nature ultimately just prideful and self-centered and self-directed? And our natural instinct is to do what's pleasing and self-gratifying. So really, to be a decent human being, a sharing, caring, kind, altruistic, empathetic, sympathetic person, aside from your socialization, you have to not so much suppress but control your baser instincts. I mean, look at the difference between a 2-year-old and a 12-year-old. I hope that by the time somebody's 12, they're not walking around and holding on to everything they got, going, mine, mine, mine. Our president had seemed to figure that shit out. But most normal people have figured out or been socialized or had enough aspirations, one or the other, to be shown that you have to learn how to share. You have to care about other people more than yourself. You have to be responsible to something other than yourself sometimes. And, you know, that's just how it goes. This is a part of life, is actually having some self-direction and some self-control.
We talked about that in week 1, though. Remember we talked about purpose, right?
Right.
And the 5 of us all said that our purpose, and I don't think this is a Western culture norm, but the 5 of us said our purpose is to help people.
Yes.
And all 5 of us help people in different ways, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
so I think if our desire is to help people, that is our purpose, to help people. I think now that we're in week 3 and we're talking about societal norms and why do we suppress certain things, I don't think it gets in the way of us helping people. And I don't think that's selfish.
I mean, I was just looking at a couple of things, Jay, in an area of helping folks. If we were in a different culture, and if we were, let's just say, we were all in Utah right now, where certain things are accepted by society, this conversation will be totally different. If we wasn't all, right now, you see, you're the only one that's pretty much single, is Jay. So if we were in Utah, the conversation would be totally different, where they have 4 and 5, 2 and 3 wives and a whole bunch of kids, and as long as he can take care of them, it'd be fine. If we were in certain Muslim cultures, as long as you can take care of them, being able to have more than one was totally accepted and totally acceptable, because each one of them would have different roles and different purposes. But because we are living in this, Western society, that oftentimes a lot of things go totally against what we are taught, even in our own religion, and how things were done in our own religion. We often struggle with that in that same area. And that area is that whole suppression piece. And then we'll say you have to have a level of self-discipline, but yet you are killing yourself, literally killing yourself, because even in having, as the doctor says, those 21 times a month, if we want to deal with that area, that 21 times a month, because you are literally suppressing that particular feeling, and you're not getting that from where you are. Now you are literally putting your life at risk, because you're suppressing something that will ultimately kill you if you do not have a release.
Boy, Pastor just gave me some revelation. Baby, if you can't give me 21 a month,
you're killing me. You are killing me.
You are killing me.
Setting me up for death.
You set me up for early departure.
Prostate.
I'm getting out of here early.
I think I might have already used that one.
Corey, earlier you used the word exposure, man. And in this moment, I'm thinking about, because we've talked about who struggles. Now let's talk about who doesn't struggle, or who is not fighting with the suppression. And I think the word you used earlier, Corey, was exposure. I find that couples who have been exposed to various different lifestyles, have traveled the world, and to Lamar's point earlier, they're spiritual, not religious.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the folks, man, in relationships that I see that when they evolve and they experience different obstacles and challenges, they're joined by the hip because they don't box each other in based upon societal norms because they've been exposed to a world much different than this one.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about Will and Jada?
Oh,
my bad.
Great.
I wasn't sure what direction you. I just wasn't sure, Jason, which direction you was going with that. So I just thought I'd just throw it out there. So okay.
yeah, not that extreme, man, but just
yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
So
What were you talking about? That was nice. Thank you. That was funny.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. My
All that
fiance.
time, Jason didn't know he was setting that shit up.
So let me. I got to throw my disclaimer out there to make sure that because I got a whole lot of church folk that's following and watching and doing all of that, and they will absolutely murder me, amen, on social media and on all the other platforms. I will get completely destroyed. But please understand that all of these comments are coming directly out of a book, and the book that we are reading, so that we are being able to be able to speak clearly to all of those. Just because it's something that's in the book does not mean that I believe the things that's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just want to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
I agree totally with everything that's in the book.
Well, whatever. All right.
I'm just kidding. Hey, Lamar, I'm just kidding, but I do want to say something to it.
That's not what he said before we went on air, yo. Just
I'm just kidding. But I do want to say something to what Jason said and to what Lamar said. Man, I think that discipline is so key. I don't think it's about suppression. I think what makes the relationships so special is when a woman knows that this man is literally going against his nature to choose me. Mm-hmm. He's literally going against these natural desires to choose me. One of the things that my mentor said to me, and I'm actually when you talked about exposure, you prompted this, Jason, because I'm releasing a video tonight that I did from a podcast talking about exposure and how that sometimes we will have a seed of greatness in us that will not grow until it's exposed to the proper lighting. And sometimes the proper lighting is just simply being involved in conversations like this that will challenge us against our social norms, against our old habits. Bishop Jake said this to me one time. We were standing next to the stage. He was getting ready to go preach. And he said, Corey, what do you want your legacy to be? He said, do you want your legacy to be when you die, do you want your children to talk about how many bad women you knocked down at your funeral? How many 10 pieces or dime pieces you gutted out? Or do you want them to be able to stand in something that you built that will outlast you? And so it's about as Fred said, that maturation process where you grow up and you realize that what I thought was important is no longer as important. Yes, it is my nature. Yes, I have these desires, but as Reggie alluded to, yes, my purpose is greater than my desires. And I choose this woman over my desires. Mm-hmm. I choose to be faithful to this woman, to be committed to this woman. And I choose to tell this woman that I need 21 every month. Or
you run the risk of putting my health in danger. Right.
You're about to kill me.
Yeah.
Corey, that's good that you choose your mate, your spouse over your desires. And I just want to offer this. I think it's vitally important that a woman discuss with her man, her mate, what she's deciding to suppress and choose him, right? Because for us, it just seems like as men, our innate desire to be attracted to other women is something that we oftentimes have to have strong self-discipline over. But I don't know that we've been in enough conversations with women who have said to us, this is what I fight with, I struggle with, and so I'm choosing you over that.
What was that, Fred?
I think it's nice to be chosen. Hercules. Look, man, I think before we leave the topic, it's equally important to, not everybody's got somebody who's willing to write them a prescription for 42 nuts, like I do. You know what I mean? A month, but
42. I thought it was.
I thought it was 21.
I thought it was 21, bro.
Fred went to 42. Okay.
Jeez.
I need a double dose. I do. I have a very stressful job, man. I'm telling you, I need the relief. I need to be calm. But anyway, it's important that while you can't show up with a prescription, you know, with a qualified, written, illegible prescription of some sex guru or something telling your spouse, your significant other, the person you love, that if they care, they're going to handle this piece of business for you. But you can convey that to that person. I think it's important to whoever it is that you're betrothed to or dating, or whoever you're committed to, that they know what your needs are, so that there's no surprise, so that there's no bait and switch. I thought that you were doing all this stuff to get me. Well, that's not just who I expect you are. I'm with you because that's what I need. That's the person that I am. That's what I'm expecting. So what I'm getting on day 30, I expect on day 90 at the end of your probation period, and then at 2 years and at 5 years, and as for as long as, you know, we supposed to be trying to get this in the way I expect, and I have, you know, helped you understand that we need to do things. So I know you don't have to have no 50 Shades of Grey negotiation about it, but there still needs to be some understanding as to what your physical needs are. And I mean, if you spend time together, you kind of figure that out, and there should be no blind spots going in. Well, not huge blind spots going into the relationship. I see Corey's phone up. You got something to say, but hold on. But nevertheless, I mean, I told my wife, I was like, listen, I'm going to have my hands all over you. This is just actually the way I put it. I'm going to have my hands all over you. I'm going to be chasing you around. That's just how I am. I'm touching, feeling. When you become all mine, that's a whole lot to deal with. You know what I mean? It's going to be I'm going to be a pain in the ass, for real. Especially when I was young. I'm like, she's like, enough, stop, damn, leave me alone. But that's just what it is. And they need to know that. That's all part of the whole communication ordeal.
Here's my question, and I have to give this disclaimer, as Pastor Staples just did. This is not a question that is stemming from me. It didn't originate from me. It's from a podcast that I watched, but I do have a question. What happens if they can't handle the workload?
Hey man, there was a video. Did y'all see it this week? Several people sent me a video, Corey, to that point. A gentleman.
It may have been the same video.
A man and his wife were doing a podcast together. He asked a very, very good question. He said,
that was
when we said our vows, you know, and I promised that I would be faithful and that I would, you know, commit and I would be loyal. When you can't handle, and I put it the way you said it, Corey, the workload, then why does that lock me into monogamy?
Now listen, Jason, I got an office full of women. And I asked this question, and I almost didn't make it out of the office. I just want you to know. Ooh. So I know it's some women on here that is. So my question is, Fred, Lamar, Jason, what?
Don't throw my name in it.
Oh no, I got to be messy. You got
a disclaimer. Don't mean them.
We just got a few more hearts. That means people saw the same video, Corey. The same video you talking about. It's viral. People talking about it.
What happens if she can't handle the workload? I know we want to get to Lamar's question, and he want to get the heat up off of him. But Lamar, what happens if...
I'm trying to be real simple tonight. That's all.
No, I need you to be more complex tonight. What happens if baby can't handle the workload?
Hey, don't ignore red flags. Number one, this discussion we got to have. Don't ignore red flags. If she's dealing with the workload like a porn star to begin with, she can't come up and hold a hamstring and, you know, start limping across the bedroom. Here, get you some electrical stimulation or a massage, or we're going to shoot that mug up. You hear me? You're going back in the game. You hear me?
So what happens when she cannot handle the particular workload that we are discussing? So let's say in certain instances there are the issue or problem dealing inside of the physical condition or physical health or even the desire.
No. Don't do that.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, we're talking about that your drive, sir, is higher than mine. I'm good. I don't need all that.
She got.
Hey, thank you, Jason, because he
I was going there because
he just went real pastoral on us, didn't he, Jason?
Yes, he did.
I'm trying my best to make this work well. I'm gonna say amen. Amen. I'm trying my best to make this work well.
Amen.
I think if she cannot handle the workload for whatever the reason it may be, there becomes a thing that everybody has been saying on my timeline has been talking about is communication. But is she willing to allow somebody else to come in to pick up the slack? Now let's go vice versa. Let's do vice versa. It's vice versa now. So now you can't handle it because of some type of dysfunction or some type of issue. Are you willing to allow someone else to come in to pick up the weight as well, to pick up the slack?
Yeah, it needs to be communicated on both sides. You're right, Lamar, because it ain't just a guy thing. A girl thing. Because guys, after a certain age, the testosterone levels begins to drop. They need things like blue pills or what have you. And many men are so prideful, they don't even want to go get their testosterone checked from the doctors. They don't want to be on any prescription because they're prideful. And so their pride, the Bible talks about, the pride comes before the fall. Their pride is keeping their spouse, their mate, pleased. But because you both said I do, you think she has a responsibility to just be okay with that.
Hold on. All right, let me make sure I'm caught up.
You caught up. You caught up. Hey, Fred, before you speak, let me just say this. If you in the weight room and the weight is too heavy, sometimes you need a spot.
Right around the time that the pastor lost his mind, after a beautiful disclaimer, he just went and flushed the whole career.
No, man. What Lamar said was communicate with your spouse. But here's the thing. The Bible also says the bedroom is undefiled.
No.
So what you have going on between you and your spouse is between you and your spouse. When you start bringing in the thoughts of what somebody else says, that's where you're going wrong. So I just hear Lamar saying you got to communicate with your spouse. How are we going to work this out? And who are we to judge how you decide to work it out?
Mm-hmm.
I pass no judgment. But what I'm saying is that option, then that door swings two ways, right? What if you come up with some shit that a blue pill won't cure? They only got so much stiffener. You heard me? You can put some popsicle stick on it. You can put some starch, spray it down with some starch. You can get some IV Niagara. Rufus, Niagara ready. You can get all that stuff that you want. If your shit ain't working, you understand? Are you gonna let old girl call up Dexter St. Jacques? You know what? And bringing in his pecker in a wheelbarrow. He gonna bing bong. Come on in, fella. You know what I'm saying? You looking for you looking to see who at the damn door. All you see is darkness.
You have probably met a woman who seemed fantastic, only to discover she had some emotional. Okay, Jason. Jason, please go to the next question, please. Please go to the next question.
From Liberty College and
please go to the next question, Jason.
Like, y'all excuse me, I'll get the camera.
My point.
Go ahead and say your point, Lamar. We can go to the next quote.
My point was very simple. What are the options inside of this? Does it really just go one way, or does it go both ways? Is it just his responsibility, or is it just her responsibility? How do you handle it? If it's acceptable on one side, is it then acceptable on the other side? That's all I was saying. Are you willing to accept what you're willing to give? Are you willing to take in the same thing or do the same thing from the aspect that you're doing it and accept it from her doing it?
Hey, so guys, for those that cannot comprehend what the pastor is saying, what he's basically saying is the man want a threesome. Can you handle it emotionally if she desires a threesome with another man? And I fundamentally agree with everything you said. So that is why, as you talked about opening that door, that is not necessarily a door you want to open, because there's some doors you open that you can't get closed. There's some portals that you open that it's easier to open than it is to close it. And so I personally think that you don't open that door, that when you love somebody, as much as I joke around on here, let me just be honest with you. I think as much as we have a desire, we don't necessarily suppress our desire, but we acknowledge our desire, but then we discipline our desire. And if she can't handle the workload, if you love her, the question is the workload more important or the union more important? And I think, Jason, there's a term that I think you'll be familiar with that is called sexual transmutation. And so what sexual transmutation means is that I take that sexual energy and I put it into a book, or I put it into a project, or I put it into something other than sexual activity. And so because that's when I'm most creative. And so we've got to learn sexual transmutation. When we feel like we can't handle it, start writing a book, start a project, start building something, start something else. And that energy, that urge, that workload that maybe wife or husband can't handle, transmute that into something productive.
Yeah, that's good. That transfer of energy, Corey, is so on point. I mean, even on this call, I mean, just the amount of businesses that we've all started, the amount of projects that we oversee, the folks that we mentor. And when people in our lives ask us why we remain so busy, if we're truthful, we remain busy because if we're not busy, right, then we will find ourselves in various places that maybe somebody can't help us get out of. Right. So I don't know about y'all, but I stay busy because I'm trying to, as Corey talked about, transfer that high energy into very creative and productive spaces. Because if I don't, man, it's a wrap.
Hey, listen, man. And I listen. Now, there's always a turning point in these podcasts where you get real deep.
Right.
And I think this is maybe one of the moments. I literally just had this conversation with my mentor last night, and I literally start businesses and stay busy because I know that my grandmother used to say that an idle mind is the devil's playground. Listen, bro, if I ain't busy, if I'm not focused, if I'm not distracted from my own depravity, my own indiscretions, ain't no telling what I'd be doing. So I keep myself busy. I keep myself involved and engaged, because when I don't have my kids and businesses closed and my fiance is, bro, I gotta stay busy.
Yeah.
I gotta stay busy. And I think if you're honest with yourself, men, some of us are overloaded because we've yet to deal with that issue down on the inside of us that we don't often talk about.
It takes us to some real dark places too when we're left to ourselves. I was on a red eye late last night coming back from Vegas, and that's a long flight. Y'all know, Lamar. We used to go to watch fights and stuff up in Vegas.
Tell me about your time in Vegas. But anyway, go ahead.
It was good. It was nice. I golfed a lot. But on my way back, man, that 5-hour flight, I was just left to my own thoughts, man. And I could feel myself start to slip into some really dark places because I wasn't in communication with anybody, nothing to distract me, right? So I'm having to fight off slipping into these dark places. And so the only thing that I could think to do was to open my phone, thank God for the Wi-Fi, and I opened my phone, opened my email, and I was able to see all of the things and all of the people who were needing something from me. So as I found myself slipping into some dark places, what pulled me out was the call of leadership, the call of mentorship, the call of building other people up, you know what I'm saying? And I had to get out of that dark place because I recognized that I was needed. And so I think as men, we have to know that whether it's our spouse or careers or whatever, we have to know that we're needed, man, because if we don't ever feel needed, it's easy to slip into some really dark places, man.
Mhm.
That's really good, Jay. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I just had this conversation with a young lady, and I can't remember what the context of the conversation was, but I remember telling her, never, she was, I know now, it was a young lady I was talking to, and she made a comment to her boyfriend and said, I don't need you, I choose you. And I said, as poetic as that may have sounded to you, the last thing you need to tell a man is that he's not needed.
Needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we thrive off fulfilling a need.
Yeah.
Every man is wired that way. Some higher, some lower, but ultimately it is the need. It is the need of our presence, of our gift, of our strength, of our prayer life, of our finances, whatever it is. It is the need that keeps us coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the need. To know that you need me just does something to me.
Right.
It activates something different in me when I know that I'm needed in this situation. Because if I'm not needed, then what happens is subsequently I go and find a place where my presence is needed.
Mm.
And sometimes that's not always at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's another avenue, because I know you guys have got real deep on me tonight. And I wish I would have picked a different quote, but since we're going in that area, in the area of need, that's one thing.
Let me take this quote off, Lamar, just so that you can go ahead and rock with that need piece, because I think that's so important.
Because I think oftentimes one of the things that men are often attracted to is that classic damsel in distress.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that we're often attracted to the damsel in distress is because we can make a difference. Put me in a position that I can make a difference, and I'm able to help. I'm able to do something positive. I'm able to do something that I can actually see the change.
That's right.
Because like Corey said, one of the most dangerous places to be in is in a situation to where someone does not need you.
That's right.
So then, if they do not need you, what are they doing? They're just tolerating you.
Mm.
I just stop.
Yeah. And Corey, I like how you said that too, man. Lamar just kind of made that last point. If you don't feel needed at home, you will inevitably create a home where you are needed.
What are you talking about?
Now we got serious. Okay.
And it is not because you desire. Here, I want every woman to hear this. It's not because we desired to create a home someplace else. It's that when I wake up in the morning and I don't feel needed in my own home, then I'm grappling, trying to figure out, well, who am I and what is the purpose of my existence if I know all the things that are inside of me is to help and to build. You don't give me an opportunity to A, help, or to B, build. And so I have to find a place where I can fit, a place that I can do both, help and build. So it doesn't mean that as a woman you don't necessarily it's not prideful to say you don't need a man. I think that you do need one another. How the Bible is very clear. It's not good for man to be alone. I think that's both man and woman. It's not good for any of us to be alone. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, to Corey's point, if we're not needed, it's so easy to lose sight on what we started to build and think to build someplace else where we do feel like we fit.
And I want to make sure that every woman watching this understands that when Dr. Jason says building a home somewhere else, that is not necessarily exclusive to another woman.
Mm-mm.
We may build a hobby. We may build a church. We may build a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We may build a business. Because wherever we are needed is where we're going to give the most energy. And so it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day. I think I was talking to my staff, and I told them, even at 21 years old, I ended up coaching this group that met at 6 a.m. And I'm not a morning person, but what caused me to stay disciplined and get up and never be late was because I knew that if I didn't get there, they couldn't get in.
That's right.
So they needed me.
Mm-hmm.
They needed me. And so I would cut off my Saturday nights or cut off my weekends or cut off whatever so that I could go to bed and get rest, because I knew that there was a group that needed me over here and that made me feel wanted and celebrated my presence versus just tolerated my presence. And so I hope that male and female, we never get to a place where we are just satisfied with someone's presence and we cease to remind them that we need them. Because if not, we'll go find something that needs us. And then if we're not careful, then the woman will start to compete against anything that they feel like we put in front of them.
Yeah.
But they haven't got the revelation. They got the competitiveness, but they didn't get the revelation that the reason I seemingly put this in front of you is because you act like you don't need me.
That's all very true. And it's also a very dangerous path because chances are neither party will realize what's happening. You found what you might consider a healthy substitute for that lack of need in your relationship, or a lack of value, what you perceive as a lack of value. You find some substitute that offer you the emotional benefit of feeling value. But the chances are during the process, the individual won't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Also highly likely that the spouse, the person who is going to be a witness to all of this, is going to resent it, because the man is going to find more opportunities to go where they're needed, but feel affirmed, right? Well, everybody needs affirmation. We talked about that the last show.
Mm-hmm.
Where you feel affirmed, because that's what affects your self-esteem. This is meaningful stuff. It's not about your paycheck. It's about being where you both said, where you can make a difference. And that does something to you on the inside. When you're not getting it at home and you seek something else. And very aptly, man, I appreciate the fact that you're not talking about this in the form of a relationship, either an emotional or a physical interpersonal relationship, but just a substitute because of what you're not getting at home. When and likely if and likely when she gets resentful, there are going to be arguments about things that have nothing to do with the real reason that you have this anxiety in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're never home. You're always doing this, that, or the other. I need you. Why aren't you not yada, yada, yada? But there's a good chance that you won't understand. Well, the answers will be, I'm not home because I'm doing this positive thing. I'm doing this. I have to be here to open the building. I have to be here because these kids need me. I have to be here because where they're going to get food from, where they're going to get shelter, whatever. I'm just giving examples. But the point is, none of that is the real problem. The real problem is within your relationship, right? And it takes incredible vision, incredible optics, incredible objectivity to be able to turn the light of introspection around and look at yourself and take the pride out of it and actually really discover why you're hurting. Not what she did to you, but why are you hurting? And then you have to figure out what's making me hurt. And when it's her, you got to figure out a way to try to tell her, to articulate that to her in a way that is acceptable and understandable, because what you want from the discussion is what? A positive outcome, not an argument.
Thousands of people watch this show every week, man. And so what I want, I'm glad you said that, Fred. What I want people to hear from us tonight is what you're saying, Fred. And that is this level of vulnerability, because we can easily say the job is calling, the people need me. If I don't show up, nobody else will show up. We can easily say that, but the hurt is I don't feel affirmed, and the hurt is I don't feel that you need me, and the hurt is the excitement that people show me when I go to work is the excitement that I want to see when I come home.
Hey, Jason. Not only that, but you have pigeonholed me and defined me by a mistake I made in this season. And you no longer appreciate me or affirm me for who I am in this season. So because I made a mistake 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 7 years ago, what has happened is now you no longer respect me the same. You no longer see me the same. You no longer admonish me the same. And instead of you seeing me for who I am, you see me for what I did. I'm not what I did. I did it, but my action doesn't define me because I've grown, I've transitioned, I've developed, I've matriculated, but you're still holding me here. And so what I end up doing is I find myself searching for someone or something that needs me, that sees me for who I am. Paul, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament, the reality is Paul was a murderer. But when we talk about Paul, when Paul is preached on Sundays, we don't preach about his murdering. We preach about the road to Damascus. We preach about him writing many books in the Bible. We preach about so many other aspects of Paul. Paul murdered somebody, but Paul wasn't a murderer. It was a mistake that he made. And oftentimes with women and men, I would assume men as well, oftentimes as human beings, we have a tendency and a proclivity to latch on to the negative. And we can't see a person for who they have become. Let me give you an example. Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris as his running mate. And even the Black community ostracized Kamala Harris because of something she did in her past. And they didn't appreciate her for what she's done now. Now, this is not an endorsement, but simply an example of how oftentimes men feel. Now, I know some women are saying, well, we feel the same way too. Well, it's not about you. It's a bunch of men on here. So sometimes we feel for the man that has had past discretions, for the man that has made a mistake, for the man that has had a misstep. The worst thing is to be in a household where someone now judges you and sees you through the lenses of your indiscretions while everybody else sees your greatness.
Woo, man.
Boy, you talking.
Man.
It's so hard to come home to somebody. When you see me, you see her, but everybody else sees my gift.
My goodness.
And everybody else values my presence. And everybody else understands my prophetic ability and my ability to build and my ability to transition. But yet you have yet held, pigeonholed me to the mistake I made 10 years ago.
You're celebrated on the outside, but ostracized on the inside.
That's a tough situation, man.
Deep, man. That's deep.
I mean, but
man, when we drive home from the places that we're appreciated, we have to sit in our driveway sometimes and just get ourselves together before we make it our way in the house. You know what I mean? Because to Corey's point, it's like that transition, Corey, is very tough when you're in a space of celebration and not celebration because you're perfect. Because sometimes you're celebrating and people can look past the indiscretion and still celebrate you.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying we pull the wool over people's eyes and make people think that we're perfect. No, people can see our humanity and still celebrate the gift. Right. But sometimes to your point, Corey, man, when people hold on to things and can't let things go, man, they never see the gift again. You can turn water into wine, and that doesn't excite them anymore because they're thinking about, like you said, Paul. They're thinking about the murders that you did in your past. They're not thinking about the water, the wine. They're not thinking about you bringing somebody back from the dead. They ain't thinking about that.
I remember I had a moment with my wife one time when I can't remember exactly what was going on, but I was kind of tired of it. And I think we were driving, and whoever the gospel artist is who sings, he sees the best in me when everyone else around sees the worst in me, or something. That's how the song goes. That's the chorus.
I think is that Marvin?
Mm-hmm. Marvin Sapp.
Sapp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the chorus. And I'm sitting here listening to this song, and I'm like, at the time in our relationship, and it probably was a week or some bullshit, but I felt and related to that very, very well. I said, it seems like nobody wants to hear criticism all the time, you know, and it's a human condition. It seems that people will believe 100 lies about you before they believe the truth about you, right in front of their face. It almost seems just like human nature, you know, sadly. But for people who, claim they want the best of you, and most of our spouses or significant others or whoever in our lives, people that we love, want the best of us, the way to get it is not by continually harping on the worst of us. They want the best for us. The way to get it is not continually harping on what's our worst attributes. No man who's trying to do better wants to continually hear about how they failed. That's not how you get us there.
Absolutely. It's tough, man. It's really tough. And that is not to discredit the emotions of a woman who endured the violation, who endured the betrayal, who endured the violation, who endured all of that. That is not to discredit that. And if I could just speak for the fraternity of past violators, you must understand that hurting you also hurts me. I may not express it, I may not share it, I may not articulate it properly, but to violate your trust affects me. And so though you are hurting because you were violated, even the perpetrator has morals. Even the perpetrator has feelings and emotions. And I may not be able to express that properly to you because I'm always on the defense, because you're always offended that I violated you. But understand, sweetie, that it hurt me too. Because as Frederick alluded to earlier, I'm questioning now why I wasn't disciplined enough to not make that decision, to why I didn't trust you enough to communicate this with you, to why I didn't press through my emotions and my feelings, because oftentimes we go outside because we didn't have the courage to deal with or face the thing that is on the inside. Mm-hmm. We don't have the skill set. We don't know how. We're not trained to translate our emotions into effective communicating at times. And so sometimes we run. But what the worst feeling, my sister, as a man, is to have somebody to keep their foot on your neck to remind you of what you did wrong in the past. That's the worst feeling.
Is it a place where, and I'm just throwing some questions out there, is this a place ultimately because of effective communication, and a lot of relationships don't even have that struggle, don't even have that level of communication? Is it even a level of maturity after you actually make the mistake, after you actually have that problem and or that issue on either side, male or female? Can we effectively come back and have that same respect that we had when we first got together? Can we ever go back and have that same type of love that we once, the adoration that we once had with that same person, and still not look at them in a negative light every time you see them, and like Corey said, be reminded every time you guys are even getting into a situation to where, let's say infidelity, if there's a space of infidelity, is every time that we have sex, are we going to be thinking about that same thing that happened back then? Or do we ever, actually practice what we preach by throwing things into the sea of forgetfulness? And like they say with our sins, they threw our sins into the sea of forgetfulness. Do we operate in that area, or do we continue to hold on to it and hold a grudge and causing, as we were talking about early, something that we have now suppressed?
I think there's three variables
to
your in answer to your question. The first one is the type and quality of the mistake. There are things that are easily forgotten and things that leave deep, deep, deep wounds in people that don't heal well. As hard as people may try to forgive and forget, we're just human. None of us are Jesus incarnate. So it's safest sometimes for us to forgive and remember, so that we can see it coming if it's coming again, and we don't get hurt the same way twice. Mm-hmm. So the type, character, and quality of the mistake are very important. What happened, what you done did to somebody makes a difference as to how quickly and how thoroughly you're forgiven and the issue was forgotten. Number two, the capacity of the person committing the transaction, whatever whatever the offense was or the mistake was, the capacity of that person to effectively and sincerely apologize in a meaningful way. Not that bullshit that if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but all I was trying to do was this, that, or the other. That puts the emphasis more on you than it does on the aggrieved person. Any of that bullshit that says that if you felt this way, I'm sorry that you feel bad. I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt. The point is that you hurt somebody's feelings. The point is that no matter what you think you did or what your intentions were, you let somebody down, you offended or hurt someone, and that is the point. Not what your intention was, not what you meant to do, not what all I said was all I was trying to do. None of that shit matters. What matters is that someone who you at least obviously care about, feel responsible for, or responsible to, or feels like you're responsible to or care about, you hurt and let down. That is the point. That is what you need to apologize for. I let you down. I'm sorry. I hurt you. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what the fuck I meant. I hurt you. I am sorry that I hurt you. All right. Thirdly, last is the capacity of that person to actually forgive your ass and not hold a grudge. And that takes a whole lot of maturity and a whole lot of selflessness and a whole lot of forgiving spirit that as a Christian, I'm still working to perfect, right? And if you're honest about it yourselves, I'm sure you'll all agree that it's not easy to forgive and forget. It's easier to forgive some things, but it's certainly not easy to forget every offense that you judge against you. So it's the capacity of that person to actually put it aside. And I'm telling you, man, you can destroy trust in one stupid, thoughtless act. And it's certainly easier to build trust from the beginning without dumb shit than it is to rebuild trust after doing something entirely thoughtless and stupid and hurting somebody because of your emotional carelessness or, thoughtlessness. So,
Fred, you gave 3 points, and I liked all three of those. I just got one though, and that's what we talked about earlier. Is do you need me? Because of all the things that you could do, you could hurt me with. It'll be hard to get over. I need your forgiveness. I need all the things that Fred mentioned. But with those three things, I need to know you need me. I need to know that consistently. Every day, whether you say it or you show it, for me to help to rebuild the trust that was broken, you have to show that there is a need for me to be here. Because if there's no need for me to be here and I don't sense that need for me to be here, I can't get over what you did. I can forgive you, but I can't get over it. What helps me get over it, the balm that helps me get over it, is the fact that you've shown me that you need me in this space.
Mm-hmm. So
that's enough for you, because I need to know that I need your ass.
Hey, come on, Fred, talk to me.
I'm serious. I need to know, because I got questions. All right.
But you wouldn't be there if you didn't feel that way, Fred.
Emotional abuse or some bullshit, some emotional abuse, then I'm wondering, do you need me? Now, the question I have to ask myself is, do I need you? Now,
yeah, but as excited as I got when you made that initial statement, Fred, I think that, I go back to when I had knee surgery. The truth is, I needed rehab. I just didn't want rehab. And I vacillated between whether I was going to do rehab or whether I wasn't going to do rehab. And it was something I felt like I needed for my knee to properly heal.
Yes.
So I needed that, but I didn't like the way it made me feel. Cool, come on, man. Lamar, I'm good at what I do. Sometimes you need something, but you don't like the way it makes you feel, and it makes you hesitant to articulate that you need it.
That's why this is all so complicated. All this is not interpersonal. This is intrapersonal within yourself. If you have issues, and this is why these discussions that we're having all have to come back around. If we want to do anybody any good, these discussions have to come back around to, and I don't want to make it as inorganic and as clinical as to say mate selection, but these are serious relationship threatening issues that y'all are talking about. So we need to talk about how you avoid the worst of these types of situations by starting with someone who to whom you are not unequally yoked. The old King James Version says, "Be ye not unequally yoked." And I said from the beginning, when we started talking about this, the important thing, and this is sort of alluding to what my paragraph was, my page. You asked for a sentence. There you go.
You keep a paragraph.
But I'm trying to talk shit. But the important thing of going into all of this is starting to somebody that you have a common denominator of a purpose. We talked about our purposes, and we keep going back to this, man. This is about a purpose-driven Black and male individual who knows what they are, what's valuable to them. And you have to have some common ground. I think between you and your mate, there must be some common ground, some common denominator that holds it all together when it's going wrong. You would be apart except for what? You would totally disagree on your life. You're entirely different. You're two complementary people. We didn't get into every aspect of 3, but they talk about picking somebody who's, maybe this is 4, I did read it here. Picking someone who is a complementary opposite, right? So we can't have these discussions unless we remember either now, along the way, or at the end to talk about how to avoid the worst of these situations, which is finding somebody with a compass that's pointing in the same direction as yours, so that as you weave along the line of a successful relationship, hear me out, Corey. You usually do my graphs for me, but as you weave along that line of a successful relationship, you don't stray too far from it because both of you know where you want to end up. So it's important that you have the same goal, relationship goals from a success standpoint, so that you have some foundation, some common foundation to rely on to keep you together in rocky times like this. Because we're talking about some serious situations because Corey, you got something to say, go ahead.
Hey, before Corey jumps in, man, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for tonight, man. I just want to offer, as Lamar did earlier, just the reiterated disclaimer that we are reading a phenomenal book that came out in 1997, revised again in 2007, and then again in 2020. The Way of the Superior Man, a Spiritual Guide to Mastering These 3 Things: the Challenges of Women, Work, and Sexual Desire. And so, no, these are not our thoughts, the quotes that we read from the book, but this is certainly our commentary, the way that we have viewed our own personal experiences, and we bring those to you each and every week. Next week, we will continue to be on this kind of theme of understanding women, dealing with women. I think part 4 next week, I wrote it down, is what women really want. Now, this is from a man's perspective, David Dita, and he's revised his book 4 different times. And so next week, we'll get into some of the thoughts that he has about what women really want. But we certainly really want to hear your commentary through the chat. Lamar's, watch party blows up every week. He averages probably 1,500 comments. I think I was on there last week and couldn't believe the number of comments that was just on his watch party. Thousands of you view this each and every week. We're just so appreciative that you've sacrificed your evening hours on Tuesdays to listen to the 5 of us just talk about our experiences in relationships. We bring it to you raw. As Corey alluded to, there's always this turning point. It's probably like the last 30 minutes where we go from being goofballs to really kind of diving into some very vulnerable and intimate parts of our lives. And so we just appreciate you guys being a part of that, being on this journey with us. We have appreciated all of your thoughts and comments. And anything you guys want to say before we close out for the night?
I will have a disclaimer next week. I'm gonna be working.
Hey, I got an email about somebody said, you know, I did the duct tape already. No, I'm being dead serious, Fred. I'm being dead serious. Somebody said I did duct tape already. Does Fred have any other brilliant ideas? Because he's talked about duct tape for 2 weeks in a row. I need something else. Fred, I kid you not. That was an email I got.
Mayonnaise, good mayonnaise. Mayonnaise.
Did he say mayonnaise?
I don't do a mayonnaise. I don't.
Real mayonnaise.
Like, are you talking about like Miracle Whip or mayonnaise?
Real mayonnaise, man.
Well, like first of all, nobody likes mayonnaise.
It's creamy. You're learning to like it. You're learning to like it. Hey, you go from 21 to 36. I'm telling you.
Hey Lamar, that was a good clinician quote, man. 21. That's interesting, bro.
Yeah.
But get my book.
Very interesting, man. I think I'd like to have us dive into maybe some more of that next week. Just the science and the medical just thoughts behind some of the things that we do and don't do.
We can talk about prostate exams.
Yeah.
And you know what I think would be dope, Jason, man? Because I was watching Lamar's wife's podcast the other day.
Yeah, I was
she said a couple of things, and I was like, you know, at some point we need to have, you know, eventually have some women on, you know, to kind of talk through some of these things, like public displays of affection. She talked about PDA, you know, and a various amount of other things. So I would love to get to a point to where we got some women on, and we can. I'm sure it'll get heated because I can be quite controversial when I desire to be.
Well,
intentionally.
She already said she wanted you on this week. So if that's a possibility.
Come on, man. You know, I love it.
I'll make sure she sends you the email. Matter of fact, she's probably watching right now. So you can, you can go ahead and make sure that Corey gets the email and it's going to work out well. I'm going to sit back and watch this time. I'm going to watch this because it's going to get real good.
Hey, listen, Jason, I was watching. And just to add context for folks, she was talking about her husband, and the Lord. But she was like, yeah, me and Lamar have threesomes all the time. And I typed in, I was like, look at God.
Look at Lamar's face, man.
I knew where she was going, so it was a joke, guys. Relax.
That's hilarious.
Hey, man. Yeah. Hey, tell your wife, man. This thing holds up to 10 people. I mean, we could do a week where we got both groups on here, and that we could set this thing on fire.
Hey, she had some firecrackers on there with her, bro.
No, she just dropped on it just now. All of you, come on. I just looked at the comment.
We should just do a joint one because here's the reason why. Because we jump on your wife's show, man, they're gonna be muting us, they're gonna be muzzling us, they're gonna be like, no, sit over there until it's time for y'all to speak. When we come on a show where it's a joint show, we ain't gonna be mic muted.
It's gonna be wide open, and ain't nobody gonna really get a point in. It's gonna be absolutely free. But if I can leave, if I leave anybody with anything tonight, there's one of the things that we can kind of recap on, and one of the things I really wanted to point out and drop out there for any relationship that might have been struggling or going through any type of past issues and past hurts. One of the things that we're going to have to do is please don't hold that against your partner. Please don't hold that past issue, that past grudge, that past situation against your partner, because it's not going to do anything but breed more hurt. Hurt is a seed to more hurt. The moment that we get rid of that hurt or try our best to get rid of that hurt, do not hold that hurt against one another, because it's not going to be a good positive result. Because that's not a wonderful thing at all to ever feel is somebody throwing up something that you've done in the past into your face just to try to hurt you. Because there are some that will do everything they can to hurt your feelings because they're not getting what they want. Into the next part of it, not getting what they want, not necessarily what they need. Because there's a big difference between want and need. And you start dealing with the areas of relationship. I did something with my daughter once, and I said, you can have anything in this world. I give you anything in this world. It just depends on how you ask me. I would give you anything in this world. Don't come to me and say, Daddy, I need another pair of Chuck Taylors. I need another. No, you don't need another pair of Chuck Taylors. You got 37 pair in the closet right now. 15 of them you ain't ever put on your feet. You don't need another pair. You want another pair. What is your real focus? Is your real focus on the things that you want, or is your real focus on the things that you need?
That's good, man.
Yeah,
I just leave y'all with that, just to drop that out there.
Oh, we diving into that next week. That's part 4. What women really want. We diving all up in there.
What women really want. I don't know. I ain't figured it out yet. I think it changed in seasons.
That's an important question, though. That's paramount because
I know what they want.
You know who want?
What?
They
knocking them. But that's a paramount question, man. You got to determine what the hell they want. You don't want to be determining that shit 5 years after you're married, or 10 years after you're married, or 12, 15, whatever. Knowing what they want up front is what helps you survive to 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 marriage. You got to find somebody who wants the same thing that you want.
Fred, I'm with you, and I really totally agree with all of that. But I do believe that there are certain seasons inside of a woman that has different type of ups and downs in their emotions, and then it kind of depends upon their hormones as well, where they are emotionally, and their needs and their wants change.
Hey, Lamar is telling the truth, man. I'm celebrating you, bro. You are to both of y'all telling the truth.
I agree, and I think that works both ways. I think that's why there's so many opportunities for us to grow unequally. You know what I mean? Grow at different rates and mature at different times as couples, as people loving each other and being together. That's another one of the reasons why it's so hard to have a lasting, meaningful, long-term, successful relationship, because those desires, what you wanted when you met somebody and you thought, oh, he's going to be a doctor, she's going to be this or that or the other. Then, 5 or 10 years into your marriage, after one kid, hey, I just want to be a housewife, or hey, I'm actually not going to go to med school. I want to be a painter. You know what I mean? So,
but Fred, we don't give each other the grace to evolve. That's the problem.
I believe
we get into the relationships and we say, this is who I want you. I want you to be like this for the next 30 or 40 years.
I want you to be who I thought you was going to be.
But we don't say, I know you're going to evolve and I'm on that ride with you. When you shift, I'm coming with you. When you make a detour, I'm on that detour with you. We don't say that because we like to be in control. And I think that part of what we'll get into next week is our ability to let go and stop manipulating seasons and allow the evolution to just take place.
That's easy to say.
Hey, man, if I could chime in real quick, and I've had a couple of these, and it's the first show that mine is stayed.
You look like you've had a couple. You look like you've had about 6.
7, just so you know. I'm feeling great. It's just orange juice, though, just so you know. But anyway.
That's one hell of an orange tree.
It's just orange juice. Anyway, man, let me say this, man. And I say this at the risk of sounding like the newlywed that is always talking about his wife or his fiance. But we just had a conversation about this, right? And she challenged me on something. She identified something, because I think that when you get married and you're in a healthy relationship, you recognize that they are your rearview mirrors or your side mirrors. They can see what you don't see. And so she identified something that I had started doing with a little bit more frequency. And when she identified it, I'll be honest with you, I felt offended. But I think because, and this is where I'm going with this, Fred, because I trust her, and I trust that she has my best interest in mind, and I trust that when she tells me something that is not to degrade me, but it's really to challenge me to be better, then I can accept it a little bit more. The only reason I even brought that up is because I think that whenever you deal with somebody who criticizes you or who challenges you, you can accept it more if you are settled in the fact that you know they got your best interest at heart. That there's no ulterior motives, that you're not trying to shape me to be the man that you wanted me to be in your dreams when you met me, but you was on a secret agenda to change me and shift me into this guy. But you accept me for who I am, flaws and all. And if you accept me for who I am, flaws and all, then when you share with me, when you pontificate and articulate to me that there is an area of concern, because I've identified that you really have my best interest in mind, then I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a shift. And so I was able to go to the gym by myself one night and identify why I was doing what she articulated that I was doing. I think that's what good is about. That's what good. Go ahead.
No, I was about to, something I've said on more than one occasion at the end of our session. I've commended everybody on this panel because I'm really impressed with the way men are being very transparent, very authentic, and very open, right? That requires a whole lot of, number one, it requires a whole lot of self-confidence that a whole lot of people don't have. It requires self-esteem that a lot of people don't have. It requires objectivity and the ability to turn the light of introspection on yourself and ask yourself objectively, could I be what she's saying that I am? Could I be that effed up, or could I be making that mistake? A lot of people are wrapped so much in pride that they can't look at themselves that objectively because they're afraid to be wrong. They don't like to be wrong. They don't like to be flawed, right? They certainly don't.
But if you keep losing, you keep losing. At some point, pride goes out the window.
Right. Or you suffer more. But I'll tell you, this panel, you guys have conquered that, and you're able to see what she's saying and then look at yourself and reflect. And as a result, make a change, probably make a positive change and have a positive outcome. We're getting ahead in the book, but that's what it's talking about in part 4 is the same type of thing.
Right. Yeah, so hold on to that, Fred. We're gonna get into that next week, man.
Hold, Jay. They saying all this wonderful, excellent stuff. I'm over here having a whole moment right now. If I could leave anybody with anything, is this? And
we have had like 4 benedictions. We've had 4 benedictions already.
I know that pastor, Jason.
Not one offering plate. Not one offering plate, but 4 benedictions.
I mean,
he's go Benedict 5 times.
Elder Jason and Prophet Corey. Listen, y'all come kill the house and leave. I got to shepherd the sheep. So it's a difference.
Tonight, Jack. Give him the name.
So if I can leave anybody with anything, this is one of the things that I would say to this one point, and hopefully we get an opportunity to really dive into it next week. Women are geared when they're born, right out of the womb, they're given a dollhouse. And when they're given the dollhouse, they have the ability and capability to pick which Ken doll or which doll that they want, and then manipulate that doll into exactly what they think that they want. Now, the question is, when they actually get the Ken that they've been manipulating for all these years, because that's what they've been taught as a child, to go over here, play house over here, get all the little cooking toys, the easy bake ovens, the da-da-da, all of this. You can pick out everything that you want. You can put the clothes on, the shoes on, the shirt, the tie, or even the sweatsuit that you want to have for him, because that's all the options that women have. Women have all kind of options when they're growing up with this Ken doll. Now, are you going to still take this same Ken doll and use that and manipulate the real Ken that then walked into your life? Is it that she's really trying to live a dream and she really don't even know what she really wants in the first place?
I see.
The answer is yes, Dr. Staples.
We
We've all identified that, and we know that. They don't know that, but we know that. We know that women are trained, women are bred to play family, to play house, and that's just not our reality.
Nope.
It's not.
G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip.
Come on.
You got to get the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip.
See, I came from a poor neighborhood. We just had the green army man and maybe 2 or 3 different colors. The light green, the little small dark green. Yeah, them the ones we had, Jay. We set them outside on the anthill.
Hey, don't forget, Lamar, Fred had both mama and daddy. We didn't have that luxury. Didn't have that luxury. Thanks, Fred, for reminding us that you grew up with the Huxtables.
See, he reminded us of past hurts. Come on.
I just got triggered.
Man, I was having nightmares after that shit, man. I should have warned me. I was. But you know what? I had the belt on the other day that I beat my son's ass with. He was like, "Who was that?"
Oh my god! Oh my god!
That belt.
Right. We out of here next week, y'all.
All right, fam. Appreciate y'all so much.
Women really want. Send us some of your questions as you have them. Make sure you comment next week, because some of what we're going to be talking about is going to be just from the book and then our response to that. But we certainly love to have your responses as well.
Is somebody going to call and check on Corey in like 30 minutes? Because I got a feeling we're going to check in for the next webcast. He's going to be right there.
No, hey,
I
Fred.
heard the Isley brothers playing in the background of Corey's house.
Hey, Fred. I'm gonna go score 51.
See, I told you I heard the Isley brothers playing. I was like, I think the Isley
Consistency is the key.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna go score 51.
In your dream.
17.
Corey talking trash. She knows she already told him you can't get none until.
Hey, listen. Hey, straight up. Hey, Lamar, straight up. She was like, baby, December 12th, as soon as we say I do, you can score 70.
Oh, my Lord.
Dang.
Well,
full muscles right there, son.
Stretch.
You're going to need some IV Niagara.
Come on, man. You know, but God is good, man.
Hey, look, man, before we go, I just got to say one thing about those commercials. Whenever they do those commercials, they always say, you know, the side effects could be like blindness, hearing loss, and all kinds of shit. What I say is this to any woman out there in kitchen, I'm a healthcare professional. If your old man come out if you like 50 years old, your old man 55, 60, he come out the bathroom tapping and feeling around, knocking shit off, he ain't tapping no cane. And if he can't see and he can't hear, he done had too much Viagra. Run for your life. You understand me?
Better believe it. He might have tell
Oh my God. We say, see Alice, if your old man shit gets so hard that he lose his vision, he don't need to see Alice. He need to see Alice, Beth, Genia, Clovis.
Hey, Fred, that's when you need to recruit some help.
Oh my. You know, he need to see. Yeah.
Hey, listen.
We about to get off this, man.
Hey, listen.
Y'all going down a rabbit hole, man.
Hey, First Lady Staples, please do not judge me off of this particular podcast. I will control myself. Fred is just a bad influencer. That's all.
You won't have to slam that in the door a few times before you come up in here.
All right, brothers. Love
Ain't
y'all,
no way you bring that up in here tonight.
Hey, man, let me get over here, man. This dude tripping.
I'll have a game this week and I'll be better behave.
I won't.
Work on it.
Hey, she'll be going. I'll be the villain next week.
You took the night off.